What's good, YouTube and Twitch? We're live to both, so welcome to the house with a very intense discussion topic that the stream actually came up with. And that's, should you be disqualified from events for Konami's errors in card printing? Because the error came on Konami's part when they're printing that they are unplayable by tournament standards. They are automatically findable in your deck by a judge, yet you didn't know. It's barely discernible to you, and only a trained eye can find it. Yet you're a super fan. You went out and paid $1,500 on a set of Starlight Rare Lightning Storm. You traveled out to California YCS only to get DQ'd because you find out there's an extra layer of foiling when it comes to Starlights, and all three were discernible, thus making them marked cards with a precedent that you're doing it to multiple of the same card to make them findable. But you didn't do that. And you didn't know that. Konami puts it on you that you should be able to look at your deck and make sure that none of your cards are able to be discerned from in deck. Yet this is a printing problem on their level. And I also ask, does that matter for the extra deck? Well, it probably does, because Pot of Extravagance is a card, and whether you play it or not, if your cards are discernible in the extra deck as well, in any way, shape, or form, and you're playing a card specifically, and a card is popular in a format that banishes random cards from the extra deck, it's not so random if they become discernible, aka heavier or have a different bend to them, and that kind of stuff. The forefront of this issue has always come from back in the past with Upper Deck, and it's a pretty well-known thing that hobby leagues had a huge problem. That extra layer of foiling where you have the prismatic lines up, down, sideways, everywhere, basically horizontal and vertical, but you have an extra layer of foiling making these heavier than any other cards in the deck, and often you can just look through the deck and really easily see, without looking at a single card, where these cards are. And to famously quote a friend here, if they're only playing Hobby League GOAT and Graceful, you're probably being cheated. Now, when it comes to these, the community knows a lot more about these, but when multiple people ended up getting DQs in YCS in California for their Starlight Rare Lightning Storms, that's a way bigger eyebrow raiser for the future of Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially with Effect Veiler coming Starlight Rare. Has the issue been fixed? Will people who are mega fans get punished for supporting vendors, spending more on their Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, and heading on out? I think that would be pretty bad, and I don't like that situation. One person in chat offered a solution. Back in the day, there was a promotion to send in your Dark Paladins in order to replace it with the corrective art from Konami, and not a lot of people did that, which actually created two different kinds of collectibles within Dark Paladin. Now, Konami could open a program for cards that came unplayable out of pack because of their thing that are mass known issues, and all it takes is them printing some extra cards and opening a program like that. I can also see that program already being abused, of people dinging, like damaging their own card, it being their fault. Konami, I have one of the bad ones. I can see already issues with that as well from both sides. But if there is a printing error on their side that makes a card out of the pack unplayable at a competitive level where they're saying, that's your fault, not ours, well, no. That was your fault to begin with, and you should probably offer some kind of system. And with Hobby League, they even saw in the past that there was an issue with it. Towards the end of Hobby League, you get a brand new foiling. You see that they've stripped off the prismatic kind of over-foiling on top of it, and instead you just get kind of the sheen on Monster Reborn, which is one of the most playable Hobby Leagues. Although I still see a lot of them bend. I think you can make it playable, if I'm not mistaken, versus the other Hobby League cards that will just stick out of your deck like a sore thumb. Now, I've personally come into experience with this. If you aren't familiar, there's several sets from a ways back in competitive recent Yu-Gi-Oh! History that, if they were Europrint, they warped terribly and in different ways from the USA prints, and one of the biggest was Zodiac Barrage. A ton of my friends got DQ'd for having multiple barrages marked. I had a head judge before YCS, I believe Atlanta, was one of the last events that I got to play in Zoo format, and I brought this deck up, and I was like, I want to make sure everything's good. They could not find a single discernible issue. By round 4, I got deck checked, and just one of my barrages, luckily, not all three, one barrage was discernible to the judge. He gave me 10 minutes to replace it, where I had to run up to friends and say, hey bro, in the middle of their matches, do you have a barrage I can borrow? I really need one. I had to go look at pairings, see where my friends were, and go through 6 different friends to replace a very expensive card at events that I had no control over, and I even had checked before the event. These were faulty printings due to Konami's level, and they can't deny it. And actually, towards Maximum Crisis, this issue gets fixed. Magically, there's multiple sets, Fusion Enforcers, Dual Sagas. That's why you see on market, people don't trust the secret rare, and the super rare is so close to it in price. It's not because it's a useless mid-rarity. The secret rare looks great, but even in certain listings here, it's not camera lens or anything. You can see it raise up off of the playmat and taco bend a little, and that's probably having the vendor work on it. When it comes to these cards, people don't trust them in online sales because of what the history is with them, if they know that. But newer players getting into the game, they don't know that that issue existed. They might be playing invoked shittles, and all of a sudden, man, my invocations are getting pretty bad. There's no system to replace those cards. Konami puts it on you to make sure that those cards are that way. So for now, all you can really do is when you're playtesting, look through whenever you freshly sleeve, shuffle up your deck, put your deck down, and kind of thumb through it. Make sure, is it cutting to anything consistently? Am I thumbing to anything consistently? Can I find something consistently? Because that's what a judge is going to do. Not everybody's going to be trained on that level, though. There's definitely more casual people just happening to go out to events with their friends. They're borrowing their friends' invoked and bam, out of the event. How do you feel that is for people's Yu-Gi-Oh! Experience? What if that's their first YCS? Oh, you got dropped out of the event. Ah, that happens, man. No, it shouldn't happen from the Konami printing process. There's also old ultis that are extremely flimsy. Ultis kind of get fixed later. You can feel they're stiffer. They eventually get removed from core product, and there's a new kind of ultimate rarity and they've continued to experiment with that. Even in Japan, you have a new ultimate rare, but regardless, there's ultimates that are way too flimsy and then just by natural play will become marked over time. And then, like I mentioned, Dual Saga, I tried to do a pack opening. My sponsors sent me Dual Saga packs from Europe, and I actually got so mad at it, I never uploaded it, because fresh out of the pack, taco curved like a bee, just straight up terrible quality of cool cards. I pulled the Blue Eyes, I pulled the Rescue Cat, I pulled some really cool cards, but I couldn't just sit there and be happy about it. I'm looking at cards that are terribly warped that I would never want to put in a single deck. And I know that Alenteo also showed in detail specific pictures of this straight out of the box, similar from EU print, just calling this unacceptable. And this was one of the last sets that ended up this way. But again, online buyers don't know this Yu-Gi-Oh! History necessarily when they're getting into the game. They don't know they can be getting stuck with cards that could get them DQ'd potentially. And I do think Konami should take into consideration some kind of list of their own at events where it doesn't put it all on the player. Now, of course, this can be abused. There should be notes by names. This happened at this event. There should be a better system for keeping track. People would try to abuse the system, so I get judges have to be harsh. But dropping people from events for issues that are out of their control because it's of the product, especially when there's stuff like Barrage, I personally experienced that I had to replace. What if all 3 of my Barrages happened to be that? I would have been dropped from Atlanta. That would have been my tournament when I had my deck checked out ahead of the event, all due to an error, and I had multiple friends experience that. So that's just my personal take on it. I know other people in chat, maybe the judge program, will have their take on it, but it is an issue directly from the printing process, and the fact that it's happening again with some of the most expensive cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! That I really herald Starlight Rares as the best thing to happen to Yu-Gi-Oh! In a long time. But if people are going to get punished for playing them, that's a huge red flag. This is great for the vendors, it's great for the players, it's great for sealed product long term, it's great for everybody. But if you have an issue with the actual cards that are getting multiple people DQ'd for the exact same reason because they're mega fans in Yu-Gi-Oh!, that's unacceptable in my book, and something should be done about it on Konami's level. rather than the level of just telling players at events that they're dropped from the event for having cards that are nice. And it does come down to the competitive standpoint. You want better things in your deck. Because you want to be the best player, you look around, you want to feel the best about your deck, you want to feel better about your cards. They tend to, in a competitive sense, strive for that, and they go for hollowed out cards. So these competitive players or mega fans are getting crushed for just being fans of the game. I really feel like there should be something done towards like making people aware more publicly that this can be a thing. So right now it's on you, the duelist. Check your decks, make sure you know the cards that can be an issue, make sure they're not discernible within your deck, and that they don't become discernible during gameplay should you choose to play them. That's Konami's answer to you for now. It's my answer, unfortunately, to you until something can be done about it, but bringing some awareness to this issue is probably better than nothing being done at all. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the conversation, and let me know what you think about, like, errors on the end of Konami versus playability. What should happen? Should there be a list that Konami judges have of common issues, and maybe a player list of people who use them, and, like, some system versus past events to kind of try to check that? What should Konami do on their end? I don't want to just offer the problem. Like I said with the Dark Paladin thing, I also think that system could be abused. What do you think Konami should do about it on their end? And it's not just 5-head make better cards, test it all. Like, there's going to be mistakes. There's always going to be mistakes in card games and printing. What do you think Konami's realistic course of action should be when it comes to these as well?